Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of From the Wheelhouse. My name is Captain Mark Stevenson, and seated next to me is my guest today. You already know him. He's been our host before, Captain Jim Mascall.
How you doing, Captain Mark?
All right.
My brother from a different mother.
I just had to have him come in as our guest because he is so knowledgeable of the subject area that we're going to be talking about today, which is the bareboat charter business. And we're going to be talking about that because there's been a lot of confusion. See, the rules, they seem to be ambiguous. We talked about it last week, and we'll dig into it in greater detail. Our job and our focus is to take these rules and regulations and clarify them, not rewrite them, but we're trying to clarify them so that we can make the playing field level. I think that some of the people that have followed us, they know that some of the large companies may not be quite happy with seeing small operators get in the business with one or two or three boats and start renting their boats out and competing with the large companies, but people just don't want to get on large boats anymore. Not like they used to. They want to have a private party for 10 or 12 of their friends. They don't want to share the big boats, share a deck with all types of other people that they don't even know. They want a private party, and I know you do too. We're going to try and dig into this and find out just how we can do this a little bit better and a little bit safer. While keeping the folks safe, we want to make sure that we are also opening the doors for the entrepreneur. We already have a caller, but first I got to really dial in to my friend, Captain Mascall. Captain Jim, what do you think about this bareboat charter industry as it exists right now? Where did it come from?
Well, it's a lot like Uber and the ride sharing. Prior to the ride shares, the only option was, taxis, and we're both old enough to know, like ordering a taxi, you never know when they were coming, there was no interaction, and we could speak for hours about there. And then someone came up with the great technology with the smartphones and where they could link riders with potential drivers, and they could predict when they're coming, they could predict what your
So
cost
now
was
they're
going to be.
doing this in the boating business as well.
And right, it's that same type of thinking where before you only had a commercial option, now you have, for lack of a better word, a quasi-commercial option because an Uber guy owns his own car.
So if I wanted to rent a boat for maybe 10 or 12 of my friends and get out there and have a birthday party, for example, I shouldn't have any problem doing that. I don't have to buy tickets on one of the big boats on Navy Pier here in Chicago, do I?
No, but there are rules, and these rules go back many years, and they're called CFRs, Code of Federal Regulations.
Okay.
So we could be here to midnight talking about how these rules are applied.
Well, Jim, listen, this is a live call-in interactive show. Now, folks, you see this number right at the bottom of the screen there.
Yeah, don't be chicken, call in.
Yeah, come on and call in and give us your comments or questions. But I want to dial in right now to one of our callers. And Jim, you and I, we're going to really focus on some of the issues that are going on in the industry. But let's take our caller first, okay? Welcome to today's show from the Wheelhouse.
Yeah, hi, Mark and Jim. I had a question for you regarding the bareboats. I next summer am looking to rent a boat for, say, about a dozen people to have a private party, maybe do some swimming and so on. And I understand the bareboat is one of the better ways to, or at least more affordable ways to go. But I was down in the harbor the other day on a mission, and I saw a sign from the gate.
A sign?
About different kind of boats that you can rent, and I didn't see a bareboat listed as one of those options there. It talked about inspections and stickers and things like that. So can you tell me, is a bareboat a legal, proper way to go about having a private party?
And thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it. I can tell you that a bareboat charter is definitely legal. Some of the authorities in the Coast Guard, actually only one of the authorities in the Coast Guard has told me there's no such thing as a legal boat charter, bareboat charter here in Chicago, but I don't think that he has all of the information correct. As far as the sign that you're talking about, Captain Mascall and I are going to talk about that. We might as well talk about it right now because we were going to dial in and talk about this show, about this sign that is, and be able to explain to the public because the public, we feel, are being misled. But first, grab an ink pen and write this vital information down that I'm about to give you. I want to make sure that if you have any questions or concerns or you'd like to write us and find out more about From the Wheelhouse, maybe you have questions or comments that you don't want to ask over the air, here's how you do it. You contact me directly at Captain Mark Stevenson, shipmastermark@gmail.com. at 312-437-2230. That's 437-2230, area code 312. And I'm going to show this again just in case you didn't catch it, but I want to make sure that I get to Captain Jim as we take a look at this sign. Captain Jim, I saw the sign too. It looked like it was designed, Captain, to eliminate people that wanted to rent a boat with 12 or 12 or less of their friends and put people out of business, making it look like the bareboat charter industry is against the law and wrong and unsafe. Your opinion, Captain.
All right, we'll put
pull this.
that sign up there.
This is the sign.
We need to bring it down.
We're going to take a look here.
There you go.
There we go.
Move it
Okay,
up.
this is a sign that has been on all of the gates. Going for a ride, paying passengers
Yeah.
by law and for your safety. Captain must be a United States Coast Guard licensed captain.
Which is what that license is there,
But
which,
that is not true. You don't have to be a captain and you don't have to be a licensed captain in order to drive people on a party, to take people out for a party and get compensated to do so.
yeah, that's a technicality in the law, although the beauty of that license is it gives people some assurances that the operator has been trained and is competent, is in drug consortiums and things of that
What's a
nature.
drug consortium? I see
Well-
that. Here, let's zoom in on that a little. It says, ask to see the operator's United States Coast Guard issues merchant mariner credential and documentation proving enrollment in a drug and alcohol program before you and your family gets under. What is that about?
Well, you hear these stories about the airline pilots that are walking to get on the plane and they say, oh, they got the smell of alcohol off and they can, keep them from flying. And the same thing was with boating. And
They're afraid of boat captains using drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
What is a drug consortium? What is
you
a
can go back to the main screen if you want. Yeah.
drug program?
You want to, go back to our, us talking.
But a drug program,
drug-
what is a drug program?
It's
Captain?
basically a random drug testing. Like if you're in the police department or the fire department, they have the same thing. So you can show up for work one day and it's a random number generator and it basically says, hey, before you start your shift, you're going to go over here and urinate in this bottle or you have to go to a drug testing facility.
Well, that's fine. That's one test I don't have to study for.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, didn't you have something like that happen to you one time? They pulled you over one time and said, hey,
They've asked me many times, and I'm glad to submit to a drug test, an alcohol test at any time.
Right.
But that's not a problem. I want my passengers, too, to know that they have a captain that's completely sober. So that's a requirement that a captain
A licensed captain.
A licensed
But
captain.
if you have some, Johnny on the spot running the boat, you don't have those kind of assurances.
What's more safe? to have somebody who is knowledgeable and knows how to operate a boat, or someone, of course, who is licensed to operate a boat?
License. But as you and I both know, there's a phenomenon called a paper captain.
A paper captain.
All right,
What's-
so
what-
a paper
what do you mean a
captain.
paper captain?
That's a guy who passed all the tests. He's jumped all these hoops, did fingerprints, FBI, blah 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 blah, and he gets one of these licenses issued by the federal government, the Coast Guard, just to make sure that people understand the difference between the Merchant Marine and the Coast Guard is. If you ever watched the Love Boat, he's not Navy, he's not Coast Guard, he's a merchant mariner.
Merchant mariner.
But our licenses are issued by the Coast Guard. So there are our regulators, but we're basically two separate deals.
I see.
Now, I forget where I was going with that.
Well,
I was-
the whole thing is, Captain,
Yes.
is that we have to have a license in order to operate and give the passengers a greater level of safety. Even though it's not required that you have a United States Coast Guard license, the boat can't be insured if you got passengers on there. And there's a problem with talking about paying passengers, and we're going to dial into that in a second.
But
after we go ahead,
If I can make a point,
Go
going
ahead.
back to the Uber and the taxis. A taxi is a commercial vehicle.
Yes.
The taxi operators have to have a chauffeur's license. An Uber driver is using his own card, and they don't have to have a professional chauffeur's license, but they have to have
A driver's license.
and a TNP license, and they go into your background and all that kind of stuff. So you are monitored. But the cars are licensed differently. One's commercial, one's not. And the drivers are also licensed
I see.
differently. So it coming back to the bareboat versus the commercials boats, you think of the bareboats a lot like a rideshare car. And what can I say? I mean,
Well, a person that rents a boat should be able to hire a licensed captain and work under safety regulations that aren't so stringent, and that's the problem. That aren't so safety stringent that you have to meet the requirements like you're some type of big ship. Here's another caller. Let's take this caller. Welcome to today's show. Now listen, there's your truth, there's my truth, and there's the real truth. Okay?
Okay. My question is, how old do you have to be a licensed captain?
Okay. How old do you have to be a licensed captain? 18 years old is the requirement, and you must have 360 days operating on the vessel, on several vessels, under the direction of a licensed captain. So you have to be 18 years old. But I started when I was pretty younger than that, pretty much younger than that, cleaning bathrooms. We call them heads. I was a master head cleaner. So,
and then you got in some fishing contests too, right?
oh, yeah.
The guy used to have them go to the fish store and buy the fish.
A guy that's
frozen.
still in business in
Right.
Chicago
And then he'd
today.
say he caught it in the lake, and here you have
Right.
Marcus is heavy. So,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
That's
But,
pretty
you
good.
know, going back to what you were saying about getting a licensed captain, have you ever heard of the law of supply and demand?
Supply and demand, of course.
Well, what if I took 40 captains off the market, and now you're trying to find one?
Well, that is one of the problems going on today. Those of us who are still licensed, because Coast Guard is coming after a few people, those people that are still licensed are inundated with so much work that we don't have enough captains to go around. Again, if you are interested in, if you're really interested in joining into the maritime industry, I want you to contact us and I will show you how to do it. There are a lot of great jobs, and that's what we want to really promote, that you can get into this industry as a deckhand. You can be as young as 16 years old to work in this industry, and you can work cleaning boats, polishing boats, doing all types of things. So make sure that you take this information down right now. You can contact us at shipmastermark@gmail.com. That's shipmastermark@gmail.com. I never have my phone filled with voicemail messages where I can't get to your message. So please make sure you give me a call if you wish at 312-437-2230. Captain,
Can I just interject one story?
Of course.
Quick one that, I know it's a favorite of yours and mine. You knew a lady was living in the projects, and she had a young son coming up, and she was worried about his future. And so he approached you and basically said, can you watch over my young, what was he at, 13 or 14 at the time?
He was 14, yeah.
14, and that's our buddy Courtney.
you helped me with Captain Courtney Scott. He's a captain today.
He's a captain today, and he used to joke around, because, Mark introduced him. He's a real nice kid, and he started from the bottom. Now he's
He
a
was a
captain.
bad kid, a badass kid.
But we straightened him out. Anyways, he used to call him, like his white captain, his black captain, but, he really got along with it. And he left me one of the best notes I ever had in my life.
Did he?
I choke up when I think. He had cleaned my boat, and he had left, and, they didn't have much money, so anything you could give him, pay for stuff, and he was so appreciative. He took a paper plate, and he wrote on there, thank you, Captain Jim. I only hope I can grow up to be like you someday.
Wow.
Oh, it broke my heart.
Wow.
And he did.
Wow.
In fact, he's better than me.
Now we got to get rid of both of you if he grew up to be like you. We have another caller. Welcome to today's show from the Wheelhouse. Your question.
Hello, are there any jobs for females?
For females, what a great question. These jobs on the waterfront have finally opened up to not just people of color, but now they are open up to the females also. When I got into this business, there was only one captain. That was Captain Camilla, Camilla Ross. Captain Camilla. Nobody would even talk to her on the radio. She couldn't get any help when she needed it.
They raked her over the coals,
Right.
but she withstood it.
But today, the International Shipmasters, our current president is a female, and I can tell you she's also had an event last year. I'm looking forward to her doing it again this year. Of women in the maritime industry, showing that the doors are open to get in the Coast Guard, to get in the Merchant Marine, the Navy, and so forth. But more important than that, I now see an awful lot of women who are boat owners. These are boat owners. Jim, do you know many of them are now in the bareboat industry? We call it the rental boat business. We are not talking about bareboat. We want to get rid of that language and call it what it is, rental boat industry.
And if I can talk a little bit about the genesis of where that came from, it basically started like down in the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean.
That's right.
Where a lot of people would go from around the world to sail those waters, including me. Anyways, you have the Dutch, the Germans, the French, and their laws were different than ours. And people would go down there, and either they'd hire a captain or they were experienced. They would take out their own boat. And that's really where it started. And then it found its way as the advent of the internet and social media and websites and things of that nature, a lot like Airbnb,
Yeah.
which, by the way, just used for the first time in September, blew my socks off how well it worked. Much cheaper than hotels, nice places, easy to
We're
get, just
doing
like us.
Airbnb, and for things as simple as doing the tailgating parties at Soldier Field right there in Burnham Harbor.
Right.
You can rent a boat overnight.
But a boat can be put up on Airbnb, but then it's got to be subject to the regulations of the Coast Guard and all that.
One of the things is that we are fighting to make the playing ground level because we become overregulated. And that's one of the things that has held us back. But this is a capitalistic society in our country, and thank God that you can be an entrepreneur and have hopes to be able to make a living doing things. I want you to...
Well, look how they try to stop Uber. I mean,
Oh,
they
sure.
threw everything but the kitchen sink at those guys. But they had good lawyers and money and,
They had the mayor's brother. They had the mayor's brother. He opened the door. He
Yeah.
opened the door for that. That's another story, though.
Right.
Take a look at this. Back to this sign
All right.
that is always shown. The sign is always shown on the gates. The gates that is on the.
Every gate in the
harbor.
harbor. Every gate
every
in
gate in
every
the
harbor basically warning people.
It tells people look for a United States Coast Guard vessel inspection decal, but. This decal it says for more than 6 passengers. Well, that is incorrect. This sign doesn't say anything about the bareboat business, that you could rent a boat and take out 12 passengers. It appears from this sign that they're posting throughout the harbors, and this appears that it is illegal to rent a boat, and you will be in trouble for doing so. Now take a look at this, and then we're going to have you comment. It says 6 or less passengers, that this is a decal that is voluntary but highly recommended. So they're talking about decals. It's a voluntary decal. You don't have to have that. But this one right here, they're saying that you need to have this decal that you are United States Coast Guard inspected small passenger vessel, and you, in other words, a COI or certificate of inspection.
But if I leave that up there for a second, it's a very simple distinction. If you're 6 or less, you need this. If you're over 6, you need this. And what should be in here is the bareboat up to 12 passengers.
Right.
And there's no mention of it.
But it's actually, you rent a boat and you can take out 12 of your friends.
But according to the sign, you can't.
Now, here's something else. This is directly from the Coast Guard. I'm not making this stuff up.
I know you're not.
You really cannot make this up. And I know that the Coast Guard is going to help us to understand this better. This is a document that was issued out very recently. Look at this, October 21st, 2019. I've highlighted a part here. It says the 9th District issued 39 captains of the port orders, issued $261,000 in civil penalties, revoked a merchant mariner's credential, and referred 7 cases for criminal prosecution to stop illegal charter operations. This is scare tactics, is what this is.
But if you could go move this up a little
Okay,
bit.
we're going to go into this deeper.
Yeah, okay.
It says specifically, a small passenger vessel carrying more than 6 passengers must be inspected and certified by the Coast Guard. But that is not true. It says with at least 1 for hire in parentheses. In other words, a person can rent a boat, but he cannot charge the passengers a fee to get on the boat. And he can collect money for food and drink, but he can't make a profit
Right.
from it. So they're not saying all of these things.
Yeah, you're getting too much into technicalities.
Yeah.
Here's the big piece right here. Can you zoom out a little bit there?
Sure.
All right, here it is right here. If you notice, here's the UPV, which was this one over here, and then you got the COI. So you got those 2 that other sign referred to. But look what you got here, Captain Mark. You got bareboat charter vessel.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
Let me zoom in on it. You're making that up. Uh-oh.
There it is.
It says bareboat charter
But how
vessel.
come it's not on the sign? Put the sign back up there. Put the sign.
Oh, it's not on the sign.
It's not on the sign.
anywhere.
What the hell? What's
Well,
going on?
You know,
And this is being plastered all over the harbor system, but it's here.
well, I can tell you that the Coast Guard, I know that the new commander, Commander Randy Preston, is the new commander, and I know he is doing everything that he can to help us to understand this better. He just got here about 4 months ago.
Right, he's new on the job.
He's new, so we can't put it all on him. He inherited this mess.
Yes.
That's absolutely right. We're going to make sure, though, that we do everything that we can to educate the public. The time has just flown by on us, Captain
We
Jim.
could be here to midnight talking about this stuff, but
Certainly.
I want to sum up this. All my interaction with
You got 10 seconds.
with
Go
the
ahead.
Coast Guard, the Coasties on the water, excellent people. I'm talking about the enlisted guys. Just a few officer types in a special unit, I don't want to mention its name, that has been the orchestrator of all these problems for the captains.
Well, we're going to make sure that we help them catch the bad guys because we want safety. Safety is number one. Thank you so much for coming, Captain
Thank
Jim.
you, Captain Mark.
I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Make sure that you tune in next week at the same time, every Friday at 5 o'clock for From the Wheelhouse. Until next week, Mama, get the coffee ready. The kid is on his way.